"Can you step aside? I do not recognize you," was the biggest shock Jeff Bezos received that Friday evening. He thought maybe it was because it was getting late, and that was why security was denying him entrance. He removed his glass, not saying a word still, and the security man refused to budge. It was becoming a scene, and Jeff Bezos did not like to be on the spot, especially because of things that could taint his name, so he quietly asked the man if he knew who he was. Imagine denying one of the world's richest men access to a place where wealth commands almost everything and everyone. What would be your reason? The security guard took Jeff's statement as a threat. "I will throw you off the streets," he said angrily. Jeff could not do anything other than step aside, trying to make sense of what was happening, because this was a first for him. The Billionaire Club Society is a restricted group only to men in that society. Even men with $1 billion cannot participate. Hence, this club was for people with a net worth of 100 to 500 billion sitting pretty in their account, not to talk of other things like their assets and offshore accounts. This group is where billionaires also make billions. Now, this group doesn't meet regularly, just twice a year. The first is their meeting with investors, an avenue to make more money, and the second is their annual party, which is more like a showcase party. These two occasions come very close to each other, just 2 weeks apart. Now, there were strict rules to this party, one of which was that there was no avenue for phones. You could bring other technological devices, but no phones. So, it was more like another opportunity to showcase other devices you have acquired or have even produced, because according to them, phones are for the common man. Many billionaires were around, including founders of important technologies that had meaning to the world. Of course, Jeff Bezos was not excluded. He owned Amazon and was among the top billionaires in the world. So, this gathering was one of affiliation, and they would come together and rub their minds to produce greater things. Most of the time, ideas for a new production or trade of another company were merged after the meetings. Also, in this meeting, they usually check those below the billionaire line and give them a specific time to rise back up and help them make a comeback. Jeff helped the owner of Prime, Adam Prime, when he fell below the line, and he is now a standing top billionaire. He never gives a speech without thanking Jeff. Knowing everyone in the meeting would be without a phone, he knew he didn't know how to convince the security. He was very angry, but decided not to show it. Jeff was supposed to meet the owner of Trav Space, Alan Cooper. He had been looking forward to this meeting because he needed investors to invest in his new idea, and he was sure when the investors heard his idea, they would agree to it. Still in thought, he saw Elon Musk arrive. One would think Jeff would smile at least, knowing someone would finally recognize him. Unfortunately, he was sad because he and Elon were enemies, and their feud had been going on for a long time. He didn't need anyone to tell him Elon won't help him. Elon would always seize any opportunity to make him feel or look low. Elon, coming closer, had an evil smirk on his face as if trying to mock him. He told him with a mocking tone, "What happened? Couldn't be recognized?" As expected, Elon pretended not to know Jeff. Pained at this act, Jeff moved closer, as if wanting to punch Elon Musk, but he knew better than to cause a scene. He just tapped his shoulder, and Elon moved back almost immediately, as if Jeff actually punched him. It was shocking that Jeff had not made a single move or even raised his voice, except for the pained look in his eyes. Nothing else portrayed that something bad was happening to him. The security was curious to know why Elon would be exchanging words with a stranger. He stood there, looking confused, but couldn't ask anything. Jeff looked at Elon and said, "I thought you would have changed your childish tactics. Even though you're a billionaire, you are still so insecure. You condescend so low with these childish acts to prove your point. Real men prove their point in better ways." Elon had a sinister look and then laughed as loud as a hyena. He told Jeff that he was a billionaire before him and that he would always be above him no matter what. It is no news that Elon Musk is richer than Jeff Bezos by some billions. However, both are in the same line of business and always produce similar things. Sometimes the headlines read that maybe they were just copying each other. They both have rockets, a spaceship, and even tech companies. However, the world preferred Elon because of his grass to grace story. A homeless child who became a world billionaire with no help was something that always moved the society, as sad stories like this always moved the masses. Elon Musk was about to go in, and Jeff said, "You did it again." Elon casually replied, You always fall for it. The security, still confused, wondered, what did Elon do again? Do these men know each other? The look on Elon's face screamed victory, while Jeff's face read past hurts. Jeff had just been admitted to study engineering and technology at New York University, and this was a great opportunity for him. He was a bright child, and his parents were proud of him. He came from a family that never lacked anything, from finances to love and parental guidance. Jeff's father was the assistant director of the World Bank, and his mother was once the Minister of Finance, so money was not the problem in his family. Many thought his parents were so money-minded they didn't have time for the family. However, that was the opposite. They were a loving family, the type that did date nights, movie nights, game nights, and all other fun things family does to have fun. Jeff had 2 sisters and was the only son and his father's favorite. They lived in the city of Manhattan. Their house was the most noticeable and the biggest on the street. Jeff's mother was very kind and well known in the neighborhood. After retirement, she stopped working and became a stay-at-home mom. According to Jeff, his mother taught him kindness without measures. He said she made him understand that he was only privileged and should ensure he helped others and did not bully them because of his status. Jeff was a kind child. He followed his mother to every meeting and gathering. Even though she was retired, she was still engaged in some politics, so seeing big men of society in their house was a normal day in Jeff's life. It was with this mentality that Jeff grew and took to the university, where kindness was a necessity. Jeff did not go far from home, as going from Manhattan to New York University was a stone's throw. He knew he wanted something different because of his creative abilities. He won many awards and accolades for producing robots and other machines. He knew he wanted to create machines to make the world easier, so when he got into the university, he focused mainly on his studies. In Jeff's first year, he did not stay on campus, so he did not know who his roommate was. He preferred going to school from home, despite having a free room on campus. However, when Jeff entered his second year, he had to stay on campus. He was excited and ready to have a different experience. However, getting to his room, he didn't meet his roommate. All he met was an unkept environment with clothes and shoes scattered everywhere. He was annoyed, but didn't want to make trouble on his first day, so he fixed the entire space. After 4 hours of cleaning and arranging, he was exhausted and napped. He woke up to the munching of something and saw an unknown face eating the chips he bought for himself. He was shocked as that was a breach of personal space. He wondered who dared to touch his belonging without permission, but didn't make a fuss about it. He wanted to start off with his roommate on a good note. "I'm guessing you're my roommate. What's your name?" he asked. The stranger replied, "Elon Musk. I am Jeff Bezos, your new roommate," he said with a smile. Elon asked him why he was just resuming, and he took time to explain everything in detail. Looking at the floor he cleaned, now stained with chips, Jeff was furious. A part of him wanted to tell Elon to clean up the mess, but he refrained from shouting. He didn't want to send off the wrong signal. If this is how unkept and nonchalant he is, I'll have to keep away from him to avoid unnecessary conflict, Jeff thought. How can someone as old as this be so dirty? He said and sighed. Jeff later discovered they were in the same class and taking the same course, but even then, he knew it would be best to keep his distance. One day, after a stressful day of long classes, Jeff returned to meet Elon in tears. Why would a grown man be crying? He thought with a confused look. He was moved to ask him what was wrong, and after a while, Elon opened up. Elon was an orphan. He never knew his parents because his mother lost her life while giving birth to him. His mother was from a very strict home, so when she was pregnant, her parents threw her out of the house. She struggled to care for herself in the pregnancy. Unfortunately, during childbirth, she didn't survive. So, Elon had to grow up in the orphanage. He was a very smart child and had a lot of scholarships waiting for him. Like Jeff, he also loved creating things, made many robots, and repaired many broken things in the orphanage. As a result, the orphanage sponsored Elon to the university. Jeff was touched by Elon's story, but was still not clear why he was in tears. Elon said, "Since I got into the university, I've been careless. I barely attend classes, and now my grades have dropped badly. The orphanage has threatened to withdraw their help after my current level." As an orphan, Elon was left to take care of himself. Jeff told Elon to calm down and that he would talk to his parents and advise him to take menial jobs to fend for his daily needs. Elon, though reluctant, finally agreed after much persuasion. Jeff called his parents and told them about Elon's issues. Surprisingly, they agreed to cover his tuition and his needs. Jeff broke the news to Elon, and this was when Elon discovered that Jeff was from a rich home. He was dumbfounded because Jeff never bragged about being from a wealthy home. This was the beginning of a newfound friendship. Elon was able to bounce back in his studies, and they became best of friends. They always did everything together, and were the best students in the university. They were both at the top of their classes. Elon became like family to Jeff, and was always seen at Jeff's house every break. Jeff's family welcomed him, but nobody could tell they were just friends because of the warm welcome he received. Elon was the mischievous type, while Jeff was the calm type. They often say opposite attracts, and that was where they were. Their bond was so tight that where you see Jeff, you see Elon. No one ever imagined this lovely friendship would one day become hatred. In their final year, they were to make the final project to be presented to companies. Jeff was the most serious this season, and Elon would always ask, "Why are you so worked up about it? You are very good at this thing, and are from a wealthy family. Why are you bothered?" However, Jeff didn't give him a listening ear. He might have been from a wealthy family, but he was trying to create a path for himself without his family's wealth, and needed to focus. Elon tried convincing him that this was their last year in school, and they needed to loosen up and enjoy it. However, Jeff knew it was not a bad idea, as he spent most of his university days studying and making things with no social life. Elon told him to live a little, have fun, and get a girlfriend. Jeff declined, saying it was too distracting, and they laughed it off. With this great impact Jeff had on Elon, how did they become great enemies? As Jeff was preparing for his project, which he called Project X, Elon panicked as the presentation day drew closer, and he had not started building something. Jeff assured him he would do great. A few days before the presentation, Jeff didn't see Elon, but he brushed it off, saying that maybe he was too busy preparing for the presentation, as that was what was going to change their lives. After some time, he became worried. He called Elon but didn't receive a response, so he just concluded that he was very busy and might not want to be disturbed. On the day of the presentation, Jeff looked for Elon but didn't see him. He was so worried and kept calling. Jeff stepped out as he had 30 minutes before he was to be called on stage, and he asked someone to call him if Elon showed up. Jeff went around looking for Elon, but a few minutes later, the person called him back, sounding very tense. He returned and saw Elon on stage presenting, but color drained from his face when he saw what Elon presented: Jeff's Project X. He knew he was in trouble. Elon had stolen his project and left him with nothing to present. After Elon finished presenting, Jeff walked up to Elon. "Why did you do that? You betrayed me. I've been worried and searching for you, and you betrayed me like this?" Elon laughed, saying, "You were gullible, and I used you. Why are you even bothered? You have a wealthy family, and they'll help you find your way. It's easier for you than it is for me." As if struck with a large piece of wood, Jeff was broken and punched Elon in anger. This was the first time Jeff had acted violently. Security came to the scene to calm the situation. He left the presentation venue heartbroken and betrayed. Through his family's support and encouragement, Jeff took an extra year. At his final year project presentation, he made Project Reformed, a better version of his first project. This hit the news and was sold for $20 million. Gradually, Jeff struggled until he met up with Elon in the billionaire's clan, even after the delay and betrayal. However, the feud between them lingered. Jeff and Elon were not far from each other in terms of wealth and assets. At a particular time, Elon came out to say Jeff was always stealing his ideas, and this made the public scrutinize Jeff. He became a victim of online trolls for weeks, but he remained silent. Due to his lack of response, the internet went quiet, because it felt they were talking to a wall. Other times, Elon would bribe an investor who was supposed to invest in Jeff's company, and many things like that, but Jeff never retaliated. It was as if Jeff still saw Elon as his friend, so he didn't want to retaliate. However, after the incident with the security guard at the billionaire's group meeting, while going back to his car, Jeff, for the first time, looked at Elon and the security guard and gave a very thin smile. This thin smile troubled Elon for the rest of the meeting, but he didn't ponder much about it. He concluded that it was Jeff, and he could do anything. A week later, 2 of Elon's spaceships crashed. These spaceships were worth billions of dollars. And as if the universe was working against him, Elon's board members started selling their stocks to one particular person. Elon called a board meeting, and the stakeholders told him they had sold their shares. When Elon asked who, Jeff walked in and gave that thin smile, saying he bought all their shares, so now he had 45% in Elon's company and empire. Elon knew something was wrong. "How did you pull all this?" Jeff smiled, saying, "It took the power of technology and a shoulder's tap." Elon did not understand, but Jeff was smiling and grinning ear to ear. Before walking out, he said, "The mission is almost accomplished." Elon went home, and when he took the Armani suit he wore on the day the security denied Jeff entry, he saw a tiny chip. Immediately he saw it. The chip melted, and he knew he had been jammed. On the other hand, Jeff was sipping wine, remembering when he started planning this revenge. After Elon stole Project X from Jeff, he had always wanted to retaliate. However, he knew he didn't want to retaliate when Elon had just started making millions, so why not retaliate when he had made a name for himself? Jeff planned this revenge for a long time. He knew he had to get back at Elon for betraying his trust and stealing his work. While carrying out a certain investigation, Jeff discovered a mole in his company who always revealed his next project to Elon, making them the same type of technology. Jeff knew he had to fish out the mole to avoid such sabotage. When he finally did, he held back his plan of sacking him. He knew that if he sacked this mole, Elon would send another, and he didn't want to go through another investigation. So, he used the mole for his revenge plan. He made Elon believe he won by keeping shut, and it worked, as Elon always thought he had the upper hand. That chip was a voice recorder that recorded all of Elon's plans. It also showed the coordinates of where Elon's spaceship was and how to access them. All of it was well planned out. Jeff acted like he wanted to get a new spaceship, and the mole revealed this to Elon, and he started working on the same project. The chip was placed on Elon's shoulder when Jeff patted his back in front of the security. However, that wasn't all. Now, it was time for Jeff to repay the security guard who had denied him entry. When Jeff got to the man's house, he wrote him a handsome check. A check? Why would Jeff pay the same man who embarrassed him? Well, it turned out that the security guard was also part of the plan. Jeff needed an opportunity to put the chip on Elon's shoulder, and the security guard had to create the diversion for him. Unfortunately, Elon fell for it. Jeff used his ego against him. He knew Elon would stop at nothing to humiliate him, so he used his tactics against him. Days after, the second gathering of the Billionaires Society, the showcase party, was held, and Elon was looking forward to this meeting. Even though he had fallen below the billionaire's line, he knew somebody would help him, and he would gain his position there. Jeff was also there at the party. He had that thin smile on his face, so when it was time for them to see who had fallen below the line, they mentioned Elon Musk. With pride, Elon walked up expecting people to help him. Surprisingly, he saw that no one seemed ready to offer assistance. He angrily started shouting that the group was not following their rules and planned to betray him. Jeff stood up and said, "You talked about betrayal like you are not the master of it. No one would help you here, Elon. They can all see through you." Elon smirked and said, "You do not control them. They have the free will to do whatever they want." Jeff laughed and said, "I own this billionaire society, and for someone like you, who would go to any length to bring me down, you don't belong here." Elon was shocked. He had never realized that his own schemes would backfire someday. Jeff got his revenge, and Elon was thrown out of the society. Who would have thought that the security guard was only helping Jeff accomplish his plans? What do you think of Jeff Bezos' revenge? Did he go too far, or did Elon deserve it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you learned anything from this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, turn on your notification bell to receive notifications about new videos. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen. See you next time.